And welcome to a new Energy Crew podcast with me, your host, JP Warren. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in to Energy Crew podcast, a podcast where it kind of doesn't have its own, doesn't know its own direction or personality. We've had energy leaders on talking about energy policy, talking about what got them started in their companies. We've had entrepreneurials come on, discuss what drives them, the goals they've achieved, the visions that they dream about and that they achieve, in their story behind that. We have marketing gurus come on from midnight marketing to people that are just kind of out there doing their own guerrilla marketing. We have a lot of great leaders on the show, and lately we've been kind of diving into subjects that might help people out there, even if it's one person out there. These are either personal stories, personal tips, personal tricks that I have gone through, probably from hard lessons learned. And also from conversations I've had with people, just some, whether it's a themed conversation or whether it's just an observation that I'm noticing that we're kind of falling into. I think one of these things, whether it's February 2024, are we back? Or have we kept any of the resolutions or the promises that we made to each other in the beginning? So anyway, it's a wide variety of subjects. I'm hoping it kind of can help elevate people's mindsets, change people's perceptions, and help people kind of control what they can control, and have a better approach to themselves and how they take on their day. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank Exec Crew, the executive development program that is designed with 9 modules of holistic leadership approach that I designed. As a certified coach, it sounds really important. This is something that I believe that can kind of help elevate leaders, can help with themselves and their leadership styles and how they, again, tackle their day and lead their team. So today, if you want to learn, anyway, if you want to learn more about that, you go over to connectioncrew.com, which is this. Yeah, that sign, if you're watching this on YouTube. All right. So today we're going to be discussing the important topic that is something that we always I feel it's always brought up out there, is the work-life balance. It's not even work-life balance to me. I don't even know if I'm going to define it that way. I'm just going to call it how about homework? Okay. I just thought about that on the spot and it works. Let's call it homework. Are you doing your homework? Dang it. I feel like I should have thought about this before I went live, because that's a great title of this. Are you doing your homework? Oh, okay. Anyway, so the goal of this podcast and of this discussion today, this conversation today, is, we always say, I feel like a disagreement at a lot of homes, and I think a line that is said at every home whenever a spouse or a partner kind of starts, there's a disagreement or some heated tension started. It's like, I'm doing this for you. I'm working. I'm doing this job for you. I'm putting these hours in for you. You think I want to go here? I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for the family. Well, listen. There is some truth to that. There's obviously some truth to that, and we're all working for our own personal goals, our own personal levels of content and satisfaction, hierarchy of needs, whatever it is. But a lot of it, I feel like, the vast majority, would be to provide for ourselves and our loved ones and our families. Some people view why they work very differently, whether it's freedom, whether it's they want to be their own boss, whether it's security. But at the end of the day, it is providing for yourself and providing for your families. Yeah, there's truth in that. 110% there's truth in that. I think there is a certain valid point that I think needs to be acknowledged. Of course, we're doing this for our families. Like, we'd be crazy not to be doing this for our families. However, it becomes that point of bullshit, if we want to say that, when we use that truth as kind of feeding into our ego to justify treating our family like they're not priority. And that doesn't mean treating them poorly or talking smack to them or anything like that. To me, that's not putting them first. That's not making them feel like a priority when you are there with them. And again, this is personal stories from me, from my entrepreneurial journey on kind of the realities that I faced and kind of what I saw and kind of the feedback that I got that was pretty realistic to kind of put me in my place, and which is kind of, I guess, an inspiration to have this conversation today. So again, it's having that truth and having that, I guess, understanding that yes, we are doing this for our family, but stopping it before we actually use that as an excuse to prioritize where our family is on our priority list. So think about that. All right. So my experience with this is, obviously, you start a company in 2021, Q4 2021. Really, when is kind of one of those things is, I don't know if you're out of if I was out of options, or I know why, but you start a company in 2021, and it is one of those things where I've never run a company before. The past 7.5 years of my career, I was in sales, which was just pretty much a corporate sales person. It wasn't bad. I wasn't really going over financials. I wasn't really strategizing. I was just doing my job, and I really enjoyed it. I think I'm very fortunate for the teams that I used to work with. People over at Pinergy, can't thank them enough. But this is one of those. Starting your own company, you do spend. You don't have an office, so what becomes your office? Your home. And it's my home is still my office, which I'm actually, one of my goals is to find a workspace outside of my home, because what happens is, once you start working in your home, as at your own company, you start wearing every single hat. So you focus on marketing, accounting, HR, policy, ideas, vision, strategy, ops. You are the CEO, COO, down to the mail clerk's hat when you have your own company. And it should be that way. That way you learn everything about your company before you start delegating or hiring people on. So, throughout, probably, uh, I would say about 2 years, I was very head focused on work. I would really focus on work. Weekends, when we didn't, my daughter has, two homes. When she was with us, I would still kind of like use the excuse like, oh, well, she's, playing a video game on her iPad. I'll work now. I'll get on my computer. Well, what happened? She gets done. I'm still on my computer because I started something. My weekends slowly became consumed by work. My weeks were all work. And then, once I leave my office from working in my office, there was no separation. There was no mental separation between home and office. So I would carry that work in me to the, to the living room, to the kitchen, and I would just bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. So the conversation started dwindling, or started eroding, with my wife and I, where I noticed that I was only talking about work. Um, it's and if he's out there, it's, well, you have to be. It's your company. Well, if you're around someone that you care about, that you love, and all they do is they start talking about one subject nonstop, 24/7 for 2 years straight, kind of gets pretty old. So there's this little self realization. Needs to be a I realize that there needs to be a disconnect from my home and where I work, so that I'm not bringing it. So again, it's controlling the conversation with your spouse. It's re-engaging in those series of kind of interesting discussions that you share. And actually, I got to a point with my wife and I hate admitting this, but I felt, whether it was ego, whether it was like I'm doing this for my family, I felt that my life was more important. So I would prioritize what I wanted to talk about. Then once I was done, I would subconsciously or consciously kind of shut down and not kind of give her the attention, respect, or time of day. And whether she knew that or not, I'm sure she did sometimes. It still laid that subconscious disconnect. All right, and so again, it's being conscious about what you're going to your family and discussing. Is it complaining about work? Is it bitching about? Is it talking about this? Talking negatively about someone? Is it always about work? So that was one thing. It got to a point where I didn't even realize this. When I was growing up, my dad, obviously, was very successful at his company. Did great. Still working to this day. I wish he'd retire, but he was always working. He's always on his computer, and he still is on his computer to this day. And that's the kind of hardwired in him. He just works. And that's not something. I look. If I had my daughter, full time, I wouldn't feel as bad if I was on my computer as much. However, my time with my daughter's half. So that means when she's here, I cannot be behind my computer. I cannot be engaged into something else because I don't have the luxury of having the full year with her. So again, this is something I really didn't even notice I was doing, but I started being on my computer a lot, and I never knew I was turning into my dad until it was literally probably like 18 months into starting my company. I would hear my daughter say, daddy's on his phone all the time, or daddy's on his computer all the time. They look at me, or she draw a picture, I'd be on my computer. I saw that at first. I was like, oh, that's cute. Daddy's working all this stuff. But then I started seeing that, and I started realizing, we used to listen to the Cat Stevens song, Cats in the Cradle, and kind of like I would explain, hey, that's why we're going to the zoo together. That's why I'm taking work off for you. Like you're gonna grow up, we're gonna and I started not practicing what I preached. And I noticed that I was being consumed by work. I was focusing on work. Even if I was around my family, hey, I'm with my daughter. She's on the couch, next to me, but I got my computer with me, or I got my phone in my hand. And I think that's one of the easiest telltale signs to make someone not feel that you're there to be around them. So you start hearing that, then you start realizing like, oh my gosh, well, I am turning into to my father. Well, again, not a bad thing. However, I wanted to be, I guess, more close to my daughter, and so you know, it's a conscious effort to okay, well, let's put my phone up. Let's put my phone up during the weekends when my family's here, or let's put it out of the room. And not only that, let's put it on do not disturb. And I think I think it's so interesting when it comes to phones in this day and age, like we have this belief that just because we have a cell phone, you have to pick it up whenever it rings, or you have to respond, or you have to check it. I think that's bullshit. I think we are not slaves to our phones. I don't think we're a slave to our phones. I don't think that you owe anyone an immediate pickup, especially if you're engaged in a conversation, especially if you're spending time with your families and your loved ones. I do think that it's okay to put your phone on do not disturb, and it's okay to get back to people when you want to get back to people. I'm fine with that. I think I'll always get messed with when I have my phone on do not disturb, which is 24/7. And oh, it can never they don't say no. It's like, oh, your phone's always on do not disturb, always on do not disturb. Well, of course it is. I'm not being rude, but at the same time is I know myself. I know that phone is a source of it can be a source of constant anxiety, especially when it's always going off. So I'm choosing to set up boundaries with myself. And I think that's an easy trick for you too, to set boundaries. It's okay to have your phone on do not disturb. And if you're uncomfortable with that, try it out for a block of time, or maybe you check it for a block of time every hour, then slowly kind of separate those times where you check your phone. It's a lot more liberating. It's a lot you're more engaged with your family. You're hanging out with them. You're not on your phone. You're not checking your phone. You're putting them in the center of your attention, not on the side of your attention when you're always looking at your phone. And it's okay not to be a slave of your phone. All right, let's see what else is going on. So, um, yeah, so I remember it kind of got to a point too where it's like I realized I had a problem when I think it was addicted to work as an entrepreneur. I have this feeling again, it goes back to my imposter syndrome, where it's like if I'm not working, it's gonna fail. If I'm not dialed in with something, it's gonna fail. And I don't care what it is. But it usually takes in the form of content or emails or something like that. So I would always find myself spending time on or figuring out a way to create another email for direction, or to create another piece of content for this. So I remember it was one time my daughter was about to go to her other home for like 10 days for an extended period of time. I think it was like before spring break or something like that. And she was leaving at 2 or something like that, 2 in the afternoon. Well, I get up, she gets up, we have breakfast and all this stuff, but I get on my computer immediately. And I spend my entire morning until about 12:30 or 1 o'clock stressed out building some content that I actually never used. And I knew I would never use it subconsciously. I just was building it just to build it. And my wife's sitting there. She's like, think about this. Like, you are literally not spending the last 6 hours with your daughter in the next 10 days because you're focused. And like, that was such a wake up call to me, because I was like, well, I'm doing this for you. I'm trying to do this. It's like, time out. Hold yourself accountable, JP. It's like, no, you're not. Oh, yes, you are doing this, but at the same time, it's like, you can do both. It's not mutually exclusive where it's like I have to be a successful business owner and be a detached dad. It can be mutually inclusive. It doesn't have to be separated. And that was kind of a shift that I had to do internally, was to realize I could be successful in my companies, but I can also be doing the work at the house. And again, that is going to putting in the work, doing your homework. And what does doing the homework look like for you in your home? Even if I'm going to challenge people out there, even if you think things are, fine and dandy at the house, homes can always use a little more TLC. All right. They can always use a little more attention. Your homework can always be a little bit more. I think, as we go on, we think that our home's is a place we just kind of come in, plop down, and not really have to show any attention or affection or, or prioritize our family, especially if work's going on, because they're going to be there. It's your home. They're always going to be there. But time passes, relationships take time to build, and you don't build once this company sells, then I'm going to spend time with my daughter. Then I'm going to really connect with my wife once I do this. What if that's 10 years? What if that's 15 years? Those relationships that you had the potential to have time to build, you're going to pick your head up, or I'm going to pick my head up. My daughter's going to be 20. We're not going to have a relationship. And I'm going to wonder why. Man, I did all this for you. Why don't we have a relationship? Because it takes time. Because I did not prioritize her when she was younger. So I challenge you out there to start doing your homework. Start putting boundaries up. A simple boundary is realizing that you are not a slave to your phone. Oh, I got to get it. I got to get it just in case, just in case. Do you really, though? Do you really? And if you play the what if game. What if I don't pick up my phone from 11 till 3 today? What if I just put my phone away and focus on my family or focus on my home? So again, putting boundaries up, and that boundary to me is put my phone on do not disturb and being okay with it. I accept it. All right. What else do I have down here? Provide same. Yeah. So hey, look, if you are that hard of a worker, or you are that consumed with work and really getting the job done, don't you want to put just the same amount of effort in in the work that matters, your family? At the end of the day, we always say it's work's always going to be there. Your family won't, and that's just it just hits home because it's so true. So again, organize your family. Organize the time with your family. If your schedule's chaotic and you live by your schedule, why don't you block out some time for your family? Block out a date, or look, this is for you if you have family. Again, if you don't have family, replace that with yourself. You got to take care of yourself and kind of be connected to yourself. So again, going back to families, plan your dates, plan activities. Again, it doesn't have to cost cash. It can be experiences. Experiences matter. Cash doesn't. At the end of the day, you don't remember the present you got for your Christmas when you're 8 years old. You remember the experience you had with your family, the experience you had with your dad, your mom, your whatever. So again, take time, plan your dates. My wife had a great idea not that long ago. She said, okay, well, every day you got to plan three things: your health, personal, professional. And I was like, that's a great call. So put a little priority into planning, whether it's a date, family time, excursion, or just something out of the house together where you can bond, even if it's as silly as going on a family walk. All right. Get creative with kids. As an adult, you take them to the park. You don't want to play. You're going to watch them play. As you're going to be more of an observer of them using their imagination. I say take part in that. If you want to have a movie night, make it creative. Build your whole evening around that theme. Is it Ratatouille? Cook together then have like a French meal or whatever that is. But anyway, whatever it is, think creative, play with your kids, use your imagination with your kids. You'll find it more fun, and so will they. And that's just leads to better bonding. Involve your One thing that I like doing, I involve my family as much as I can in my work. I try to bring my daughter in to understand kind of the podcast, or I try to have her help with the marketing. My wife bringing her in with exec crew, getting her service. But anyway, just bring them in, involve them a little bit to show them what you do. That way, it's not just work taking them away, but maybe they can peer inside to see the passion what you're pursuing. Reconnect. I think showing your family some priority and just realizing one day we are going to be looking up, and the relationships that we're doing this for, it might be too late. So again, prioritize your family, do your homework, even if that's blocking one thing out a day, one big thing a week, or something like that. Your family's your family, or your personality, or your time is your time. So make it your time, make it your family's time. So thank you all for tuning into Energy Crew Podcast. I know this is a little bit off the subject, but I do know that having a healthy work-life balance as a business owner, at the end of the day, this is why we're doing it. And if it's not a happy house, it's gonna be a very difficult road to achievement. So what is that saying? Achievement without fulfillment is futile. So again, hope everyone has a great day out there. Put your energy in the right place.